Our next guest is Kevin Champeny, and I'm so excited to have him as a guest on my show. Literally, I was walking down the street, I knocked on a door, and the rest is our personal history. Ladies and gentlemen, Kevin. Hello, how are you?
I'm fantastic.
So I'm walking down the street, Long Island town, and I'm stopped in my tracks by your artwork in a window. And then all of a sudden it said, gallery by appointment only, but you came through the front door and you invited me into your gallery.
Well, it was kind of, I was doing a photo shoot that day, and because we do a lot of social media for the work, because it's the way that we sort of get it out there. And so any time that I'm out on the floor, people walk by and it's like, okay, I'll open the door, maybe. But I don't always do it, so it was kind of cool that it just happened to be right at that moment.
I'm so intrigued by your process and the materials that you work with. First of all, you're self-trained, but you started out in aviation as a mechanic.
Yep.
Okay, so can we walk through the journey? Plus, there's so many fascinating things about you. You were deaf for many years, and okay, I don't even know where to start or where to unpack this, but I guess let's start with your being a mechanic.
Right, so I was working for a boutique aerospace company, and I was building unmanned solar-powered stratospheric flying aircraft. There's a lot of pieces to that. So, and I was doing everything from building the planes, the avionics, and then even the areas that we were working in, like the refinishing entire airplane hangars and doing all that, and managing the sort of the construction, doing everything, and even down to the working with the carbon fiber with electron scanning microscopes to figure out sort of the laying of the fiber. And so I was doing everything. It was just kind of a weird job.
Very intense.
Yeah, every day was a whole new thing. And so the owner of the company, I'd worked several projects with him before, and he's like, you need to be on my team. So like, okay, I have bills to pay. it was something new, and so I did that, and that's sort of where I met my business partner. I was redressing one of his planes, and he asked me where I went to school as a mechanic, and I laughed, and I was like, I'm not a mechanic. I said, I'm an artist,
Wow.
That's what I do. And asked where I lived, and found out that he was my neighbor, essentially, lived next town over, and he came to the studio, and he was like, this is incredible. Do you show this? I was like, no, this is for me. I'm developing and creating this process from all the things that I've learned my entire life to combine it into one, cohesive piece. And it's like, you have to do this full time. And
it's amazing, your journey, because what it is that you're actually doing is you're manufacturing almost the pieces in order to paint with them. It's sculpture and painting.
Yeah, it combines my love of sculpture, painting, and photography into one piece. I hand sculpt all the masters. And so to conceptualize the piece, I have to figure out what the image is and what it's going to be made out of, and then combine those into a fully interactive piece.
What are you starting with? Are you starting with like clay in order to sculpt advanced Play-Doh? I mean, like, what is it?
Pretty much, yeah.
What are you working with?
It's an oil-based clay usually, or wax-based, and I sculpt all the masters, little tools like dental tools, and a lot of them I make myself, because you can't buy some of the tools that I need for, especially the fine detail work. And everything's individually sculpted, and then I make my own silicone molds, actually hand mix my own silicone. And then when the casting process starts, all the colors are hand matched. So on a black and white piece, it can be like 20, 30 shades of gray. And on a color portrait, you're looking at 50, 60 different colors that I have to actually hand match in batch and cast, so nothing's painted.
You're extraordinary. The other thing is that you were deaf. So I don't know if your vision maybe got enhanced because of the fact that you didn't have your hearing. They sometimes say that, like if you lose one of your senses, your other senses try to make up for it.
Right.
And so tell us about that. When did you have a loss of hearing?
So I was born practically deaf, and they didn't realize that. I was the second child in the 70s, and so I didn't start talking until I was about 3, and they didn't really question that. They question it now, but not then. And so they realized that I couldn't hear, and I was suffering from ear infections almost constantly, and my ears bled, and so I have naturally a weird threshold for pain, again, because I never complained. And so they didn't know that there was this issue. And so my hearing sort of ebbed and flowed. Some days it was nothing. Some days it was a little bit better, especially when I was younger. But I didn't regain normal hearing until I was in my 20s.
Until you were 20, in your
Yeah.
20s.
Which is kind of weird because
And it was basically because you met someone whose dad invented, I guess, a pharmaceutical item that helps you clear up the infection.
Well,
I
that
mean,
was-
I'm like paraphrasing it all,
right.
but okay.
That was sort of
Okay.
after the fact. So my art teacher from junior high helped get me into college, and because my family couldn't do it, and so she sort of mentored me, and got me into school, and I was studying overseas, studying theater and art, and she wouldn't let me go unless I could hear, and so. We did all the tests and all of that, and they found out it really was just an inner ear infection that pretty much spanned my entire life. And it was 5 pills in 5 days that restored my hearing to almost 90%.
It's a miracle. It
Yeah,
really, I mean,
it
that's
was crazy.
amazing. That
It was
is
absolutely
such
crazy.
an amazing journey. Plus, you came from very sad, meager means.
Right.
Okay. And
I mean,
not sad, but just meager. Like
Right.
very, you grew up without having like that formal, like you didn't,
Right.
all of a sudden, oh, you're like the 5th generation artist and you've got all these gallery connections, and
Right.
that hasn't been your path. You've done this
Right.
day by day
Yeah.
and just keep working.
That's right.
So
from a
wonderful.
small town in Wisconsin to living in
Here,
New York. Yeah.
you have tons of celebrities now. You have tons of commissions that, and they all love your work. How does that feel for you? That you have, like, I don't know, like you're the talk of the town, kind of.
It's weird.
Okay.
I mean, it's funny to say, but it is. It's not overwhelming. It's just odd because
Okay.
it's not something that I was told I'd be able to do, and everything was that way. You'd never be able to go to college. You'll never be able to hear. You weren't born into the right family to be able to do certain things, and this was reinforced. It was even reinforced in school. Even by the art teachers that I had early on, saying, "Well, you're good, but it doesn't matter." It's not like you'll be able to do anything with it. And so that defiance, in natural defiance of, I don't believe you and I will prove you wrong, it just fed into that. And it's like, okay, we'll see.
Yeah, watch me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's vindication, I think, some of it. And it's fun.
I'm really happy to know you. I'm so glad that you opened the door that day
So
because
am
it
I.
opened up my eyes also in a whole new way to a different type of art, and it's mesmerizing. The piece that you brought here today, as we're wrapping up, is the Franks, right?
Yep.
So tell us about this particular piece.
So the family contacted me and they wanted a portrait for their parents, and it was for their 160th birthday. So they celebrated together, they both turned 80. And they said, we want the story of their life represented in a photo. And so they gave me lists of things that they love doing, travel, philanthropic sort of activities, their companies, everything about them. And so I spent months just sort of sculpting all these pieces and sort of placing them and created the portrait from that.
I know. I wish I'm trying with the cameras that we have, because we do have beautiful cameras, to do this justice. But I mean, people might just have to go to your gallery to see your work, right? So you're in Port Washington.
Correct.
And but you do travel. You have art shows all over
I do,
the United
yeah.
States, and your items, somebody can commission a piece, or you do have some things. And you also have smaller pieces. So if
Correct.
somebody wanted to like start out as a collector
Mm-hmm.
and then go to, what's the largest piece that you've ever worked with?
I think it was the piece I did for CarMax.
Okay.
And it's the reason why I have the gallery studio right now, sort of combo, is that it was too big for me to build. And so just by luck, this building came available, and CarMax wanted a piece that was 30 feet long by 14 feet tall, and it contains over 40,000 Hot Wheels and Matchbox cars in it. And they wanted it for their opening because they opened a facility on Long Island, and I was like, sure, I can do that. So,
Yeah,
why not?
I can do that.
Why not?
Just say yes and figure it out.
Absolutely.
That's always worked for me, Kevin.
Yep.
Right? I'd say,
No,
oh yeah,
it's
let's
the
go.
only way to do it, and it puts that fear into you, and you have to figure it out. And so that was kind of fun. That was probably the largest physical piece that I've had.
And you made
Gotcha.
Barbie, a portrait of Barbie, and you did it with lipsticks. But you're
Yeah.
actually making each of those shapes to look like lipsticks.
That's true. I sculpted lipsticks for Estee Lauder and Avon at one point, and so it was kind of nice to go back to that, because I had the idea years ago to do a Barbie portrait and do this sort of idea of beauty and perceived beauty out of a beauty item, sort of a meta piece. And it just finally made sense now with all the interest in the movie, and I was like, I have to build this now. And so I sat down and sculpted about 6-7 different lipstick bullets, and created the portrait from there. I think that was about 42 different colors that I had to cast for it. But
So you are clever and you are witty. And how many pieces do you know how many pieces are in this again?
this one I think is, I'd have to check the list. I think it's about 25,000.
25,000 pieces. Congratulations. You're just amazing. I'm so glad that you're here. I'm so glad that our journey has connected and we're going to be friends for a really long time, and
Absolutely.
Continued success to you. So
Thank you.
way to go, Kevin. Really,
Appreciate it.
truly way to go. His work is extraordinary. Please follow him on all the socials. And if you're able to go see his gallery, go. If you're someone that wants to follow and pursue art in your journey, just do it. I mean, Kevin did it. I just got an easel. I'm going to start painting again, and I haven't been painting for a really long time. So we support you and we celebrate your journey as well. Thanks for watching.